In many games you oftentimes see interesting things, but as you get close to it, you find yourself you cannot get to them because there is a wall in between. One you couldn't see before, but now you're close. It's right in front of you, and as you try to get around it, the wall seems to move together with you. Effects like these are very interesting, as it allows for unique challenges which wouldn't be possible if everything was visible. Like here, I have to move around these platforms and find my way to the opening so I can get to the pipe on the bottom. Okay, to create this invisible effect, we'll need to create a shader. So let's add in a mesh instance and created a box mesh, and under surface material override we will select new shader materials, new shader, and save the shader somewhere in your project file. Now we need to set some parameters in this shader, so let's first give it a color. We do this with vec4 uniform vec4 color source color. Next we need to decide up to how far we want the object to be visible relative to the player. So let's call this uniform float sphere size and set it to 3.0. We call it sphere size since essentially we're creating a sphere around the object. Next we need to say where the player is. So we need a uniform vec3 player boss. This is where the player is in the world. But we also need to know where the object itself is in the world. For this we need to add a varying vec3 and call it world's vertex. So we need to calculate where the object is in the world, and we do this with void vertex. Inside here we will set world's vertex to model matrix times vec4 vertex dot xyz. This will calculate where the object is relative to the world. Now we need to take the player path and the world vertex to determine the length between the two, and we do that in the fragment, in the void fragment down here. So we create a float we call min dist, and we set equal to min length player path minus world vertex, and we sphere size. Okay, now we need to set the albedo to the color. Albedo equals color.rgb. Next we will set the alpha to what we just calculated. We clamp that, do sphere size minus min dist, and then clamp it from 0 to 0 to 1.0, and that should do it. Now as you can see it turned invisible, but if we set it closer to the player, so now as you can see, when I moved away from 0, it turns invisible depending on the distance. And if I set closer, it's completely opaque. And that's how you make the invisible shader basically. Now from here it's mostly just modifying what we've got here. One thing you can do is, under alpha we set alpha scissors threshold to 0.5, and what this will do is it will cut the alpha, and what you get is this clean look here, but that's optional. So next what we want to do is we want to set it relative to the player's position, the player right here I have. We need to take the cube we just made and throw it in our world. The problem is currently the player position is set to 0, 0. If we run the game, it's not reacting to the player. We're going to change the player pose right here into a global, and to do that we go to project settings, shader globals, and set name to player pose and set the type to fact-free right here, add, and now in front of player we type in global. And the last thing we need to do is, in our physics script we need to set the player pose to our player's position. Set the rendering server dot global parameters, global shader parameters dot set, and then in the first value we set player pose, the name of our global, and the second we set player dot position. Now if we run the game, if I can find the thing, let's set it a bit closer to the player. So as you can see, it's now relative to the player's position, and what you can do is basically apply the shader to anything. You can apply it to the current world. It's like you're walking to darkness. So the next question is, how do we do textures? The only thing we need to change is change the color to albedo. So we need a new 2D sampler, uniform 2D sampler 2D albedo to hint default black. Now what we're going to do is we take a texture and just throw it in the 2D, in the albedo right here. And next, instead of color.rgb, we set it to texture albedo .rgb. Texture albedo uv.rgb. So what you see now is the cube has now textures. And you can of course do the same with the world. Under parameters give it a random texture. I don't have very good textures in the map currently. And a nice invisible shader with some nice textures. Of course you can take it further. If you needed to have normal maps, you can just add in normal maps. Or if you need roughness maps, you can do that too under here. The last suggestions I want to give is you check if the alpha is smaller than if alpha is smaller than 0.9. We'll set it to we set the albedo to color. .rgb. So what this will give is now the outer edge of the visible part is now this color, and in game that will give a nice ghostly effect to it. See how the outer edge right here is black? You can also turn it into more of a green, so it looks even more haunting. And if the size is not big enough, you can set the square size to, let's say, 15. And notice how much more view you have right now. And that's the invisible shader. From here, just modify it as you please. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.